Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Robert is being chased, thrown on the run, and it is caught. Touchdown, Keenan Allen. What a great...
My goal is not to break you. My goal is to make you harder to break.
Comes back, number six.
Huge sack by Joey Bosa.
Touchdown! 90-yard touchdown!
Off at the 8-yard line by Derwin James. Sets his feet, takes a shot downfield, has Knighton caught. Touchdown, Chargers!
Grab your lunch boxes and go attack this day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast. You are with Andy, Jack, and Alistair. The three of us are back. Excuse my horrific excuse for a voice. You're going to have to sit through this. We are back working through some things last week, fellas. Apologies for our absence, folks. No fireworks involved. We are good for week one. As roster cuts are coming, I'm showing up to work still. You just got to do what you got to do. Gents, preseason's done. Meaningful football is less than 2 weeks away. What say tonight we give the last 4 games, or the 4 games of preseason, a bit of a wrap-up and finish with some of that final 53 chat. Jackie boy, the Chargers finished 2-2 after a 30-23 loss at Levi to the 49ers. What mattered to you?
What mattered to me? It's a long list, and I also have a long list of what didn't matter. But let's start at the top. Let's have this discussion about our backup quarterback situation. It matters, and it mattered, and it matters now because Trey Lance looks all like a backup, and he should be. DJ... I'm just going to say DJU because I can't say his last name. Alistair, can you help me there? Ungalalele?
Uwe
Ungalele. Against the 49ers, actually looked okay. Started slinging a bit, then kind of really dropped off a bit, but then finished the game strongly. And Taylor Heineke, realistically, doesn't look like he's going to be, I would hope, not on the roster. Do we carry 3 quarterbacks? I highly doubt it. But it matters because I think we need to go out and find an offensive lineman with some sort of trade situation, given we only have 6 picks next year. I'll get into that later. But the backup QB situation looks good. First ever time I've watched preseason where we've actually been serviceable in that position now.
Yeah, man, I agree. I have confidence in Trey Lance. It's a nice position to be in. A guy who is a top 3 overall pick in the draft, still only 25 years old or something like that anyway. Really inexperienced and has shown that growth you'd love to see from someone who's being tutored by Harbaugh. 0 turnovers from his 57 pass attempts, 4 big-time throws. Great. Did some stuff with his arm, did some stuff with his legs. Just looked really confident, and you could see him just grow each week that little bit. And he's spoken about the enjoyment in the clubhouse, and I feel great about that room. As Money has said on Chargers Weekly, if Herbert gets injured, season's done. Okay, but you'd best why not have someone you can maybe grow into a longer term backup, or someone who maybe does so well that eventually you trade him and flip him for some picks in the future.
And maybe we'll see Shanahan start doing the slapping of quarterbacks in preseason because you reckon that Harbaugh's sitting across there going like, hey Shanahan, you took this guy and look at him now. Sucked it. No, I don't know. Anyway, the 49ers have made more playoffs.
Yeah, maybe.
He looks more and more serious each year from the sideline. Shanahan doesn't smile anymore, just looking at his play cards.
Yeah, it's the stresses of running an NFL team, I'd imagine. Jim just continues to find a way to bypass all of that. Like, he just lets it wash over him. Like he's not even
10-year bans in college football. Who cares? I'll move on.
Who cares? Oh,
yeah.
Not going back there.
Stay with the Chargers. That's fine. Nothing further to add on Trey Lance. It's just good to be in a situation that's better than Easton Stick. And he's looked better than Taylor Heineke as well. Maybe we'll get into all the roster stuff down the track, but that was backup QB spot was at the top of my things that mattered as well, Jack. So, bang on. Let's go. You know what, guys? We've obviously got a great friend of the show, Ryan Watkins, who does some fabulous stuff on the Storm Cloud blog, and he put out a piece yesterday around the what we saw from the starting offense last in the game against the Rams. It was only 8 snaps, but folks, I really recommend you go out and have a read because Ryan puts a lot of work into the stuff that he does, and it's top shelf. Did you guys see anything, or are you feeling a little bit better about how this is all sort of going to work in year 2 with Roman?
For me, not that I've read the article, sorry, Ryan, so I'm not too sure what you're alluding to, Andy, but the one thing that I'd be worried about is the offensive line's performance in those 8 snaps. Not worried about Herbert, not worried about wide receivers, not really worried about running backs, Al. We might get into that later, but I do think that the Slater's injury has really exposed our depth. And the depth did not play well at all, I thought, across all 4 games. They looked okay in the opening one, but I seriously worry about sort of if we have another major injury, we've got some guys that really aren't up to NFL standard, Al.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, Andy, the 8 snaps or whatever it was, I think it was 8 snaps that the starters played against the Rams, that starting 5 on the O-line looked good, as they should, against what were the Rams' backups.
Sure.
I mean, at least on 3 of those pass attempts, Herbert had a long time just sitting there, threw Lad McConkey open over the middle. Another one, he just waited and launched the deep ball to Quentin Johnston, which obviously fell incomplete. He had lots of time on that throw on the deep crosser to Keandre Lambert-Smith. So those 8 snaps looked okay, but I think what we've seen through, the next 7 quarters is some of the worst offensive line depth across the league.
Horrendous.
It's really hard to find good offensive linemen. Don't get me wrong. I have confidence in the Chargers' 6th offensive lineman. If there's an injury to one of the starters, Saulier comes in, I don't think there'll be a major drop-off there. After 6, we're in trouble.
Yeah, it's a pretty shallow dish, isn't it? No, just, the pass to Keandre Lambert-Smith was an example of, developing that early chemistry and how that comes on show. It was obviously a small sample space, and I think it's important for us to note as well, really unfortunate what happened to QJ. He's been the whipping boy ever since he was drafted at 21 overall, but horrible to see him get knocked out like that. He was on the sideline against San Fran carrying on, so that's good to see, but certainly don't want to wish any ill happenings to any players, really.
No, that stuff's gross, and we reject it and repudiate
sure.
it wholeheartedly. On that play where he got injured, I'm interested in your take on this because you started with Greg Roman and the way he's calling plays. Don't worry, I'm not going there. I know where you guys think I'm going. I'm not.
I kind of want you to.
Maybe next time we have Carl and Ryan on the show. But Greg Roman's play calling, right? QJ on that play is running a vertical go route. He's in the starting 3 wide receivers, even though we've got Keandre Lambert-Smith and Trey Harris, maybe better vertical receivers. 2 ways of looking at this. Roman's like, hey, it's a practice preseason game, and I want to see if you can do it, QJ, so you're going to be the target here on a deep ball. Or are you not putting your player in a position to succeed by asking him to go out and do that, and then he went and got injured? Which way do you lean?
I wouldn't say that he went out and got injured, by the way. There's a difference. He had nothing to do with it. Let's just be honest there. It was a dirty hit from my perspective. Should have been a flag. Wasn't. NFL, what you're doing, you're trying to get these hits out of the game. Alistair, you disagree with that. That's fine. But how many times in training camp so far in the highlights have we seen Quentin Johnston catching the ball over his shoulder for that touchdown? So I think, there was an element of, hey, QJ, you've been doing this all preseason. Let's go out there. We don't want to put you in any crosses at the moment because we don't want to reveal that wrinkle in our offense because we didn't really do it too much last year. Maybe we've added it in. So let's just do what everyone knows you can do. Get that touchdown, get that confidence up, take you out of the game. It just so happens that he gets absolutely nailed. I don't read any more into it than that. And in a weird way, if that's the play that gets him hurt, then people go, well, he did that last year. We know we cover it. What we don't know is where he's going to be used with Keenan Allen and Lad McConkey on the field in those crosses. Are we going to see maybe his TCU tape at the Chargers? That's where I sit, Andy.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jack. I don't think unless Greg Roman's asking QJ to play as one of the front 5, I don't think you can say he's using him the wrong way and he's putting him in a position that he might get hurt. He's a professional football player. let's see what you've got. Absolutely. Try some things. And Jack, you make a good point, and to touch on, not trying to reveal too many wrinkles, maybe it's a bit of smoke and mirrors by using QJ on a deep vertical. I don't think Greg Roman did anything bad by that. Just, get him out there with the starting guys and see what he can do. Mix it up.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I might move along to a what doesn't matter, if that's right. Preseason football. Preseason football doesn't matter. Sitting there watching it, guys, I love football, but sitting there watching it made me reflect on what is it that actually makes sport meaningful, because it's still elite athletes throwing the pigskin around, and pretty well from time to time. There's a great interception here, there's a strip sack there, but I don't give a shit about what I'm watching. It's like it's just missing that context and some meaning behind it, which is why we're all very happy that now real football is back. But that's one thing I'm grateful for, that we've got real football to talk about. Actually, Jack, it's kind of like watching. It's kind of like watching Gladiator 2. That's what preseason football is. Jack and I were just having an offline chat about don't watch that film. You're expecting to see Joaquin Phoenix and Russell Crowe, and you're like, nah, why am I watching this? So it's good that we'll be back soon. But look, I jest, but it is very meaningful for a lot of the players on the field. So what's maybe something, Jack, you were going to say?
Listen, I think you're being a little bit harsh there. I think there is some good to look at, and perhaps maybe if you put the lens on of maybe watching a Telesco preseason, there's not much to know, but there is some real value in watching guys like Luke Grimm, like watching Nico Reed, like watching Wax, like watching Caldwell. You're not going to see a consistent performance, cohesive performance unless you're Jesse Minter, and it seems to be the man that you can just turn milk from cream? I don't know what I'm saying here. Milk to cream to butter to anything he wants with whatever he's got. I've completely lost that there. I've been up since 4 a.m. this morning.
Here comes the excuses. Chef Minto with his creamy, buttery pizzazz.
That's Hortiz. So I'm mixing chefs. I'm mixing metaphors. What's going on here? But yeah, so I do think there are elements to watch. The one thing that I was going to pose to you, Alistair, is our PFF rankings, and you've just said that preseason football doesn't matter, but I'm going to put it back on you. Chargers have in drafting Hampton, Najee, Sanders, Miller-Hines, and have Vidal there as well. We've ranked per PFF overall 9th in our rushing offense, but 27th in our run blocking per PFF. So you got to kind of think that if we take the boost, put the starters in, that running back room starting to look half decent, actually. The fact that we can be 9th overall in rushing offense, but still be 27th in run blocking. Where do you see that? How does that work?
Well, I think rushing production is really a key function, and bears a strong positive correlation with your offensive line. So I do think you can have really talented running backs, and if you stick up backup O-linemen in front of them, they're not going to do much better than 4 yards a carry. It's just so dependent on that hole or crease being opened up. As we saw with Saquon Barkley at the New York Giants, he can spin around and make 4 guys miss, and he's still just back to the line of scrimmage if your offensive line is sufficiently bad. What I've seen is a group of running backs who are running hard. They've got different skill sets. Each is talented in their own right. We'll get into this in the roster breakdown. There's almost not a guy there who hasn't impressed me, at least on one series during the preseason. The offensive line, will it be a problem into the season, though? That's the question. Rashawn Slater's probably one of the better run blockers of the starting 5. Alt is still growing into the element of his game. Bozeman's okay. Pipkins, we know that's been an issue for him, and same with Jamari Sawyer. So what do you think, Jack, from what you've seen? I mean, Hampton is clearly a guy who can break 2 or 3 tackles and gain those 5 yards.
So have you come around on him? So my next question is, have you come around on drafting Hampton where, by what you've just said, have you come around and can see the forest through the trees?
I can see the vision for Hampton. I fall back to Hampton was a little luxurious for the 2 or 3 players we might have got for a trade down. I expect him to be really good as an NFL running back. I think he can be a top 10 NFL running back. He was my 3rd running back in the class behind Travion Henderson and Ashton Genty. He looks awesome, by the way. Like he is a bruiser. He's also athletic. He's pretty nimble for a bigger back. So, but man, we're going to get to see a lot of him because we don't know when Najee Harris is returning, and that picking order behind him is still very much up for grabs.
Yeah,
I do think that in this weird way, drafting Hampton and then losing Slater might not be that much of a drop off because we've got both Hampton and Najee there. Are they going to improve the running game even without Slater there? We don't know, but it looks like we've got cover. The pass blocking. You trust Joe Alt, you trust Trey Pipkins. It's just whether those two guys are going to be power in the run game that Slater gives it. But maybe with that beefed up running back room, it's not going to be such a dire situation.
Does it make the run game a little bit more predictable though, knowing that more often than not that we're going to be running to the left side behind Johnson and Alt. So
I don't know. I mean, you've got Becton on the right, so I mean Becton's a big man. So
Sure. I was just alluding to the knowledge that Pipkins, it's a deficit of Pipkins' game, but hey, look, maybe the running back group is that much better than last year that they can overcome that and still be efficient and productive.
So you're sounding reasonably optimistic, Jack. Am I right to say, heading into week one, we'll get to the defense, but the offense, how it's looked, how some of these rookie, wide receivers or tight ends have played. Are you squinting hard enough and seeing quite a good offense this year?
Well, it has to be for Roman's sake. I've said I'm giving him 6 weeks, and if by week 6 we're not seeing anything, I said that at the end of last season. That's the rope he's got from me. Am I being optimistic? I think it's tepid. Let's call it that. I don't think anything that I've seen is disastrous. What I have seen has been some really good wide receiver play. Trey Harris kind of had a couple of good games as well to end off there, but KLS looks great. Omarions look great. As you alluded to, the running back room is looking good. Can we overcome the Slater injury? It's happened sort of early enough that there's going to be some continuity with those guys as well, and everyone knows going into the season that he's not going to be there. The next move that Hortiz makes with the roster in terms of an experienced guard or an experienced tackle somewhere coming in is going to be super important. I think we can get to that later. But yeah, I'm coming in, and Herbert just throws a rope to KLS. The man I think is ready this year. He feels ready. So continuity. I'm squinting hard. I'm maybe tepid. Maybe I'm just getting a little bit warm and cozy, and I'm having a glass of wine in the bath. Maybe that's where I'm sitting. Just my first glass, just one. No cheese on a cheese platter yet. Yeah.
I thought you still dry August.
Not come Saturday. Saturday okay. I will have numerous drinks, but
at a kids party.
Yeah. No, my brother's 30th. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because Herbert's ready to go. He's been on the beers. It's perfect.
Very nice.
There we go. Yeah.
Do you want to move on to the defense, Al?
Yes. First, can I just throw one wrinkle to build on what Jack said about Greg Roman? Something I mentioned to you guys offline, but did a little research to follow the thought, was how the Chargers don't really have a screen game, and how hopefully with Amari and Hampton and maybe Naheem Hines, we'll get to that, could we start seeing more of it? Here are some stats for you. In the preseason, of the 75 quarterbacks who played at least 20% of snaps, Trey Lance ranked 75th of 75 for screen pass attempts. Only 1.4% of his passes were screens. Heineke was 60th of the 75, 4% were screens. Last year, Justin Herbert, through the whole regular season, 26 quarterbacks played 50% of snaps. So basically 26 quarterbacks stayed healthy for the whole year. Herbert's 21st of the 26 quarterbacks at 8.8%. And interesting, here's the kind of list, because I do think it's a cheat code for your offense. Quarterbacks who are in the bottom 6 of screen pass attempts below Herbert were Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson, Bryce Young, Matt Stafford, and Joe Burrow. So actually, the Rams and the Bengals put a lot on their quarterback's shoulder. Don't worry about the screens. Here are the top 8 most screen-happy teams, and they tend to range between 13 and 20% of all their attempts. Tua, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Baker Mayfield, Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen.
Interesting.
Interesting. I think we can see it. I'd like to see us out of that bottom 5, bottom 6 quarterback zone. I hope last year, I'm going to give Roman the benefit of the doubt and say it was personnel related, personnel driven with J.K. Dobbins and Gus the Bus. This year, you've got a real chance with Hampton and some of these other guys. Help it out, especially if your offensive line isn't as good.
Yep. Yeah. Finding a way to get the ball out of Herbert's hands quicker. Not necessarily always, but it's a proven recipe that gets a lot of quarterbacks out of a funk. Kellen Moore did it with Dak Prescott, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands quicker and just making their lives a little more sort of stress-free. Definitely helps.
Defense.
Yeah, we'll get on to
How good are they, boys? What were they? Ranked fourth in rush defense in the preseason, third in overall defense, third in coverage. I'll say the defensive tackles, Jack, they've impressed me more than I was expecting. I know they went with the approach of get rid of Puna and replace them with a bunch of quote-unquote jobbers, Deshaun Hand, Naquan Jones, trust in a Boygby. They're looking pretty good, man. What do you think? And you've got a chance to talk about your big number 99 as you go.
Oh, yes. Thank you for setting me up. Yeah, let's just talk about buttercream, custard, milk, butter, cream, all that kind of stuff. Mint is the dairy man. He's the dairy farmer. Just milk him. He's milking everybody, and he's getting the best product. Gosh, what a cohesive defense. But yeah, let's talk about Jamari Caldwell here. He's looking like an absolute steal for where we got him. The power that he plays with, and he's moving. So what I also like to see in big rookie young defensive linemen is, obviously rushing the passer is one of the hardest things to do, but do you lose ground? No, Caldwell does not. And the next thing obviously is, do you move laterally? You get a double team. Are you able to move that double team across? Are you able to diagnose a running lane? Are you able to get people in the way of the running back? Jamari Caldwell has done that in every single game he has started. He's either moved laterally or he's moved back, and the way that he's able to shed off a block to make a tackle as the running back goes by is very, very good. So we talk about an absolute lack of depth on the offensive line. This defensive line, I have this feeling that Minter is just going to rotate 4, 5, 6 down, and I don't think we're going to see a drop off. Perhaps last year the top end talent's going to be better, but generally overall, I'm super, super happy. I mean, even Hand was popping off, getting into the backfield numerous times. So I cannot wait to see the defensive line. Al, I'll put it back on you though. I am very concerned about pass rusher, because I think that
tell me about
the defensive line looks okay, other than when we think about edge, because Caleb Murphy being the shining light is just a little bit worrisome.
Yeah, and I'll extend it to the interior defensive line. Yes, I agree. Deshaun Hand has flashed. Maybe as a 4-eye or 5 tech, he'll get some surprise pressures because he plays with a lot of effort. Where's this pass rush coming from? In the last 2 games, I was pretty concerned. I remember eyeballing the numbers somewhere. 10 pressures against the Rams, 16 pressures against the Niners, 2 sacks combined. Basically, our entire defensive line is hinging on Khalil Mack. It doesn't look like we're going to get anything from Kyle Kennard. I hope I'm wrong on that, but the early returns aren't looking great. You don't want to be banking on Caleb Murphy as some designated pass rusher from Ferris State who's just making the team. We've got to be in the market for help at that position. Morgan Fox just got cut, Andy Arno.
Yeah.
Maybe you're like, hey, he had the most pressures on our team last year from the interior defensive line. Does he want to come back on a kind of vet minimum prove it deal? Are you feeling as bad as the two of us? For me, it could actually make or break the season.
Yeah, for sure. Super impressed in the growth, or just finding a way to be as good and potentially better in the run defense. Jamari Caldwell, I think, leads all rookie interiors in run defense and run win rate. Awesome preseason for him. And it's stuff like that is why preseason matters. So we get to see this guy just go out there and fight. But the pass rush is a genuine concern. And like we all fell in love with Tremont Morris Brash in last year's preseason, Caleb Murphy and Marlo Wax to that, both in that kind of mold, and it's not what you want to rely on. You need to feel like you're actually safe beyond Khalil Mack, like the one guy, the aging vet in the team. We drafted in the 4th round, Cold Kennard, and we're not really seeing that return so far, that sort of output in the preseason. So big weight on Tooley's shoulders. Bud Dupree's going to need to be more than sort of a situational or leadership type guy. We don't have room in that position group to carry people. So big concern. I really don't think that that's going to be something that it gets addressed between now and the start of the year.
It will impact how Minter calls games. If you sit there and you realise you're not getting pressure, the only answer is you have to start blitzing. And you have to start trusting the secondary.
And there's this world where Derwin James is going to be playing, given what happens in the safety room. I mean, last year, I just did a quick look. Last year, he was sent on pass rushes more than he ever has in his career at 75. The closest to that was his rookie year when he had 68, and the rest of them, they've been in the 30s and the 40s. So I have a feeling that number from Derwin James at 75 pressures or pass rushes last year that he converted into 15 total pressures, I have a feeling we might be seeing that push up to the 100, 120 as that Swiss Army knife, because our DBs seem to be so deep, which could be a way to alleviate perhaps the lack of, if Khalil Mack isn't getting it, if your Duprees, if your Toolies aren't. So that's definitely something that's on my radar to watch really early on, is how often is Derwin, and is that kind of the ace up Minter's sleeve when you're just not getting any pressure. It's like, okay, we're going to have to manufacture it. Derwin, let's go. You're in the slot. I'm going to blitz you the rest of the game, stuff like that. It'll be fascinating to see.
You've kind of got two ways of dealing with this. There's this trend in the league where teams are blitzing on early downs more than they used to, trying to get teams into 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 11. There might be some advantage in really blitzing those early downs, because then you have more of a chance on 3rd and long. The quarterback's not getting the ball out as quickly, having to wait for guys downfield. Alternatively, we might see more of these simulated pressures, guys. And Terah had his interception on one.
Yeah.
And that's where you feign to bring 5 or 6, but really you only bring 4. But what you do is kind of bring the edges and drop your tackle out into coverage and just hope you throw a quarterback out of kilter. It works on backup quarterbacks. I don't know if I want to be doing it to, Tom Brady, these kind of quarterbacks. They might make you pay, but it was fun seeing a big boy interception.
Yeah, goes to show that Minter can just make it work with whoever he's got, which is really comforting element to his game. Look, as far as the line goes, we move into the linebacker. I touched on Martlo Wax, who's had an outstanding last couple of games. He was absolutely everywhere against the 49ers. How are we seeing the linebacking group, I guess, sort of forming heading into the start of the season?
It's hard, man, because where our mind goes is Junior Colson and what's going on with him and his spot in the team, which we'll get to. But each of these other linebackers are stepping up and playing fairly well, if you ask me. I thought Marlo Wax, as you mentioned, was really good. Delshon Phillips played his first game, didn't look out of place. We know Ryan really likes Emily Johnson, and why not? He's been impressive on the field and on special teams. Troy Dye, I would very happily have Troy Dye taking regular season snaps as well. Yeah. Linebacker room, the depth has looked fine. Through the preseason, Denzel Perryman's had a bit of a strange training camp off field and on the field. He looked every bit his age in coverage the other week, I thought, when the starters were on the field. Even Henley showed up a few of those slightly late to diagnose in run support against the Rams. So do we have your back, Jack? What do you think about the linebackers?
Yeah, well, that was one of my what doesn't matter is perhaps Junior Colson's lack of development. I'm not sure if you touched on him. I just lost you guys for a second, but Wax seems okay. I think we're all right. Like in a position that I thought we might be a bit thin, as you said, Perryman getting on a bit, but I think Henley looks good. I reckon we're going to be okay. Like Minter's good enough to disguise a lot of that. It's all of these positions that I thought we were going to be sort of short at on defense, other than edge, are kind of looking okay.
and then you go back just a little bit to the defensive back group, and that room is brimming with talent.
Yeah.
That is going to be some of the more difficult decision-making in the front office over these next 24 to 48 hours, because all the guys whose spots kind of are there, especially in the safety group, they're all playing well. The people behind them are playing well. The people behind them are playing well. It's really only a couple of cornerbacks I'm still a bit iffy about, Andy. It's still, for me, Benjamin St. Just, who hasn't shown much, and Ja'Seer Taylor, what to do with that group.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could just kind of get straight into the 53 if we're going to sort of start talking about the fringe. But, it's interesting. It's sort of similar to the linebacking group where there's maybe not one or two absolute gems, but overall it's like a really solid, consistent group, potentially capable of sort of doing the role as a committee. But, that sort of doesn't fly. Dante Jackson's a bit of an unknown in this defense. We've seen bugger all of him. We got Cam Hart returning from concussion and shoulder injuries last year. Taheeb Stills, and Cam Hart are both second-year players. How many are we going to take? Is that room going to be filled out with the guys that special teams love? And does that take away from the actual defensive unit? So it's a real headache. And then it's a similar sort of thing with the safety group. I think there's probably, you could sort of take 4 or 5 pretty comfortably, especially if, you're going to have Derwin move into that cornerback room as the slot. It sort of blends that whole cornerback, safety, DB group up into one.
All right, well, why don't we get into this 53-man roster then? Unless we've got any final thoughts to share. Jack, were you going to add something else?
As a segue into this 53, the last thing that I'll leave the conversation on all of this is Harbaugh's mantra of competitors welcome actually just fake news? We're going to find that out very soon with what the roster looks like, right? Because do you think that, and this is a rhetorical question, do you think that Harbaugh is going to pick players like Wax, Reed, Murphy, Sanders, even over people like Vidal, Coulson, Jar Taylor, Kennard, those draft picks and things? Or is it just going to go back to, no, we're going to trust our draft picks, we're going to trust our senior guys who perhaps we've signed, we haven't shown much. Now we're going to trust that. Listen, we don't watch training camp. We only can kind of see what we see. But I just wonder if this is the first real test of Harbaugh's. I want to get the best players out there, and what other little birdies are in his ear? What other little people are saying, oh no, but we took him in the 4th round. It was kind of mine, so now we've got to keep him on there. Obviously, there is some funny business we can do with the injury list.
Is that birdie called John, by any chance?
Perhaps. So I am super interested to see this, because this says a lot about the culture, right? Because if players do believe that they can have a chance of making the 53, that is only going to strengthen the organization year on year, because you get the best UDFAs because they go, if I ball out, I am going to get a shot. However, if it's just door closed, thanks for coming, fuck off, see you later. We're going to go with Benjamin St. Just, who hasn't shown anything. Interesting. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, this is where you guys get to decide. So, listeners, I'm going to go through Daniel Popper's projected final 53-man roster. We've got to remember strategy comes into this as well. Like, these are your group now for the year. And don't forget, with the practice squad elevation rules, if you get a guy through onto the practice squad, you can elevate them on game day a number of times before committing to them being on the roster. I think it's 3, yeah. So if you think you can get a guy to the practice squad, it's like having a 54th and a 55th man. And no doubt those discussions would be had in deciding who's in the 53. I'm going to set out a couple of rules, and I want you to ponder one question, because before we start this, I want each of you to tell me the position group you're the most confident in heading into the season and the position group you're the most concerned about heading into the season. I'll come back to you in a sec. So by Tuesday, listeners, the Chargers must trim their roster from 91 players to 53. Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific. They can field a practice squad of at most 17 players. One of those has to be an international pathway player. So 16 ordinary practice squad. The rules are when you cut a guy from your 53, if they've had fewer than 4 accrued seasons, they get subject to waivers, and anyone around the league can claim them off waivers in a particular order ranked off their results from last year. If you're a player with 4 or more accrued seasons, like a Tony Jefferson, you're called a vested veteran, and you don't become subject to waivers. You just become an immediate free agent, and you can sign with anyone that you wish. All right, with that out of the way, Andy, most confident and least confident?
I think I have to say quarterback as the most confident position group. I think that's a really safe vanilla answer, but there's uncertainty sort of everywhere else. And least confident with the offensive line.
Okay.
No two ways about it.
Jack?
I will say most confident in the running back room. I think there is a ridiculous amount of depth there this year. And the least confident, we alluded to it at the start of or during the earlier segment, is the edge room. Massively.
Yep.
I think we're really, really short at edge.
Yeah. My least confidence also edge. Most confident, I'll say safety. Who would have thought that about 3 years ago? All right. So we won't talk about the 3 specialists. We know who they are. You've got 50 other players. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say who Popper predicted will make the 53, and I'll throw a couple of names in, and maybe you guys tell me either any you predict, any that you would do if you were the GM. So quarterback, Popper just has the 2. It is Justin Herbert. It is Trey Lance. Some have said maybe you keep Heineke in the 53, so then you can try and trade him a couple of days later, a bit like we did when we traded Heineke last year. Or you might think DJU, he's played so well, maybe some team would put him on their 53 and you can't risk him to the practice squad. But Jack, I'll give you this one. What do you think? Herbert, Lance, what say you?
Heineke's got little trade value. I don't know if he's even got a 7th round pick in the way that he's played. Keep Lance, and if you can sneak DJU onto your practice squad, do it, because I think he's valuable. But do you? The only issue is that if a team comes knocking for a quarterback because they lose one of their starters and Trey Lance looks available, and you trade Trey Lance for, let's say, a 4th or something like that, then you've got no quarterbacks in the group. So I wonder what the strategy is from Hortiz, and maybe Heineke stays around purely because of that fact. But I agree with Popper. I'd put Lance as the backup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'd sit on Trey Lance. I just don't think there'd be too much. I don't think the carrot would be good enough for him being the clear best option to back up Justin. Just cut Heineke and try and get Uiagalelei on the practice squad as the emergency 3rd quarterback.
Yeah. Me too. I'd play 4D chess like this and keep 3 quarterbacks if there weren't so many other guys who've played well and deserved a spot on the 53.
Yeah,
but
correct.
This year we're struggling with spots. So 2 quarterbacks, Herbert and Lance. All right, Andy, you can start this time. Running backs. Oh, boy. 2 more things to mention beforehand, because Popper uses a cop-out here. The Chargers can designate 2 players on boomerang IR, where back last year, if you started the season on IR, you've got to be out for the whole season. This year, you can pick 2 players who start on IR. They must miss the first 4 games, and they can be back from week 5. There's also the NFI reserve list. If you suffered a non-football injury and you're still hurt on roster cutdown day, you can also sit out for the first 4 weeks and return from week 5. So there's a strategy there. And if you're a bit hurt, will we try and put you there and say, we'll wait till week 5 to get you? So running backs, Andy, Popper predicts that it will be Najee Harris sent to the NFI reserve list to miss the first 4 games of the season. And 4 running backs will make the team: Hampton, Haskins, Rocket Sanders, and Kamani Vidal, with Naheem Hines-Miller not making the team.
I like the use of Najee on the NFI, because I'm not sure he's going to be ready for week 1, and not as like a punishment, but I think I'd rather give one of the last 2 guys, Rocket and Kamani, a go, and let him sit and get that healthy. Hampton, of course. Haskins, one of the best special teamers we had last year. And Raheem Sanders has arguably been our best pass catching back in the preseason. So, and I just love the way that he runs and he's built and everything about him. Are they still kind of seeing if they can squeeze anything out of Kamani Vidal by hanging on to 4? Yeah, I think I'm kind of in line with Popper.
Okay.
I think he's pretty. Sorry, and to address Naeem Hines-Miller, there's clearly fumble issues, and yeah, it's just a no for me. Even though he has obviously a third down catching back kind of role, ball security is a bit of an issue for him, and injury history too.
Okay.
I think Rocket Sanders has to make it. The man is a mountain, and the way that he runs, yes, his vision, and he might be too quick to cut or give up on a lane, but he runs very hard, and he's big, and he's a rookie, so he doesn't have a lot. He has a lot of tread on the tires. I just think Naheem Miller-Hines muffed a couple, and he's below 200 pounds, right? So he's in that 195 range, whereas the rest of the guys are in that 200 plus. Najee Harris sitting at 240 plus pounds is the biggest. And then Kamani Vidal would be, of that group if we took them, would be the lightest at 215. So as much as I've really enjoyed watching Miller Hines, I just don't think he makes this roster. And I would agree with Popper there. I love it. I love taking 4 running backs. I think they've all deserved it.
Yep. I think that is what the team will do, as he's predicted, and I do think Najee Harris starts on the NFI list. Just the way they've discussed it, how can they be sure he's going to be ready for the first 4 weeks, and you may as well bank that extra spot. I'd actually do something different this time, guys. I know Hines Miller muffed 2 punts and fumbled a rush attempt. I'm going to view that as getting the rust out. Why I would stick with him is purely the height he's reached in the NFL is so much higher, I think, than you could reasonably predict Vidal will reach based on what he showed. And I also think Vidal will make it through to the practice squad. I don't think there's a team waiting to grab Vidal onto their 53. He's missed his last 3 practices. Whereas I do think a team would give Hines Miller a go just because of what he's shown in the league. I'm with you guys on Hampton, Haskins, Sanders. They're my first 3. I would actually go, we've got all season. I want to have Hines Miller under contract because he is a good receiver. He can do some punt return. Let's just stick with him for a little bit longer. Let us know what you think. It's a really tough one. Some might just go with 3 running backs. So let us know, TDU crew, in the comments. Okay. Fullback 1, Scott Matlock. Any disagreement? Any of you, I just would cut him.
Should be Tucker Fisk. Should be Tucker Fisk. I think Tucker Fisk has balled out in terms of run blocking. He's going to be helping Trey Pipkins a lot on that right side, I believe. Should be Tucker Fisk. I think. I can't. When you think of the fullbacks that are very beneficial and they're great for the team in the NFL, they don't look like Scott Matlock. I understand that he plays defense, he plays defensive line, he's this 2-way player, cool. I disagree with that, and we know with our draft pick talk and a guy that plays for the Jaguars. But anyway, should be Tucker Fisk or go and find a dedicated fullback. That's not going to happen. That's Matlock, so he's staying, obviously.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Jack, to be honest. I think the way that the interior defensive has been built and has showed up has been, we don't really need the gimmick of having a guy that can, just because he can sort of play 2 positions, get the blocking tight end, Tucker Fisk in there in replacement, and we've got enough. Starting to go. We've got enough cattle in the shed for the defensive tackle group. So yeah, I'm bang on with Jackie Boy. Fisk in for Matlock.
I personally don't see them as either ors, just because of Fisk being your more tight end, wing tight end, not playing as many in a true fullback position. I think he could probably do it. I think the team wants to play a lot of 22 personnel with both of them on the field, though. So I think who cares what I would do? I think Greg Roman will do it. And if I was Greg Roman and I'm hell-bent on having a fullback and multiple tight ends, I think that Matlock has outplayed Steve O'Klotz, and it is a boon that he can play on the defensive line as well. So I guess I would put him in. But I hear exactly what you're saying. All right, wide receivers. This is an interesting one. So Popper has them taking the 6 you would expect. Ladd, QJ, Keenan, Trey, KLS. Darius Davis gets his spot. He will be the return specialist in the 6th wide receiver. Jack, what say you about this one?
I just think I just don't know what's going on. Who's returning punts and kicks? So there was like a rotating door through there. I definitely don't want Ladd McConkey doing that. So is Darius Davis going to be dedicated? Is that going to be his job? If that's going to be his job, then sure, he makes it. But if there's someone else, so if there's Naheem Miller-Hines who's on the squad, if he's going to make it, then I don't think Darius Davis makes it. I think I'd go with someone else. Like, Campbell looked okay, but again, Darius Davis just provides that speed, and that's something that we don't necessarily have in that wide receiver room. The true little gadget burst.
All right, Jack, this time I'm pinning you down. You've got to make the decision, dude. You're the GM, and is Heinz Miller your punt returner, or is Darius Davis stays on the team, and you're a punt returner and wide receiver 6? Or is someone else punt returner?
I'm going to go back. Miller-Hines, someone else's punt returner. Darius Davis doesn't make it, and Jalen Reagor is your 6th. There you go.
And he can return as well.
And that's what I'm saying. Jalen Reagor, he showed more than Darius Davis as a receiver, even though I said he couldn't catch in the middle of last year. I had a couple of nice preseason catches. He is in that sub 200 pounds as well, so he's lighter. It's Jalen Reagor. So there we go. Okay. That's who I'd put in.
Yeah, actually, a point that I found quite interesting was what you just alluded to, Jack, the sort of revolving door at kick returner, just to sort of see what they've got. Because I think if anyone on that list, apart from the obvious, is a trade candidate, it would be Darius Davis. And whilst it does, as you said, sort of eliminate that gadget type from that receiver group, Reagor has, barring the injury that he had through training camp, he's had a good training camp. Sure, I think the verdict's in on him being not worthy of pick 11 or wherever he was taken by the Eagles. But I don't know. I think there's definitely options for others to fill the boots of the return specialist role. KLS got in there and did a bit of it. I don't want Ladd doing it either, but I think there's others that could fill the void. So, look, I think on that of the names on that list, Jalen Reagor would be the guy that would step up, and you could look to trade Darius Davis.
Do you know what I would do? I would walk straight up to Ryan Ficken's office and say, Ryan, how important is Darius Davis to you? Because I reckon we can almost replicate his punt return production and find he's not much of a kick returner. He might have trade value. Ship him off, take a pick, and just make do with someone else as a punt returner. We think Rager's the better wide receiver. I would have that chat. And if he said, no, man, firstly, he'd never get that excited. If he said, he's a good returner and, I prefer to keep him now, I'd go, okay, fine, you've earned it, Coach Ficken. But I'm thinking the same way as you two. He hasn't earned it. He was playing snaps deep into the 49ers game, right? That tells me something. Either they're like he's been hurt and they want to get him up to game speed, or he's actually fighting for his roster spot. And if he was, Jalen Reagor looked better as a wide receiver, and that's quite important in your 6th wide receiver.
And I just don't think Roman knows how to use someone like Darius Davis. I just don't think he does. He's that gadget, jet sweep kind of guy. I just don't think he fits Greg Roman's kind of style. So I reckon he'd be gone in my team.
All right, on to the tight ends. Popper had them keeping 3, so Disley, Conklin and Gadsden, and perhaps the first surprise, Popper predicts that Tucker Fisk does not make this team. So that is the tight end room. Andy, you can start this one.
Yeah, so as I said before, I sort of swung Fisk into that tight end fullback role. I have no issue with the 3 guys listed. Steve O'Klotz didn't do too much for me. Thomas Yasmin will be able to stow away on the practice squad under the international player pathway. So I'm happy with Popper's wrap there. Gadsden looked great in that 49ers game. Two.
I just find it so hard to cut Tucker Fisk because of how good he is blocking. And he really came into his own when the team called for him late in the year as well. He came in off the street and improved, I felt, every single game. Now, could you get away with perhaps stowing Tucker Fisk on the practice squad? I think you might be able to, because he's not a sexy player. He doesn't really catch it all. He's your heavy set personnel. He'll do what he wants. He has familiarity with Roman's scheme. I'd go and see if I could. I stash him on the practice squad and see what happens, because I think 3 is okay there. I just worry because if you lose Disley, I don't know how good your blocking is from Conklin, and Gadsden we know is a rookie. So
yeah, I think Popper has started a storm of conjecture on Twitter about Tucker Fisk, and I'm kind of not really seeing it. You know, I see a guy who actually had a nice catch in the Hall of Fame game, started to catch some end of last year, and as Jack has said, is really probably the team's best blocker, full stop, in the running game. And we know Roman likes to play quite a lot with those, heavier personnel groupings. So I think Fisk with the Pisk will make the team, and I would actually put him on the team as well myself. So I am not countenancing this disrespect for one of the best named players in the NFL. So I'm not going to risk him to the practice squad. I see value there. All right, rounding out the offense. This is an interesting one. Popper, I thought he'd change this, but he didn't. And, he thinks Harbaugh, tip of the spear, although that spear's looking pretty blunt at the minute. Offensive line, he predicts 9 offensive linemen. Alt, Zion, Bozeman, Becton, Pipkins, Sawyer, Andre James, Branson Taylor, and David Sharp, all making the 53. Now, he does think that after roster cutdown day, we will then look at other teams, and if we like one of those, we will then cut David Sharp and sign one of those guys. But at least on Tuesday, as of 1 p.m, he thinks 9 offensive linemen. Jack, what say you?
I don't know how you can keep David Sharp on your team, and I don't know how you can keep Branson Taylor there. Like, even just naming them. I mean, Branson Taylor is a practice squad guy, I think. And was he injured? He looked like he hurt himself in the 49ers game. He was down, so I haven't heard anything out of there. And I mean, there's no love for my man Josh Kaltenberger. I mean, it's really tough for him to make it with Bozeman and also Zion and also James. So chances are they're not going to carry a 4th center, as you will. But 9 offensive linemen, my lord. This is where we're struggling. I mean, I guess yes, because if you cut Branson Taylor and you don't take David Sharp, I don't know who, because you're not taking Carson Barnhart, or you're taking, I don't know, who are some other names got.
Well, all the others graded below 50 shockers for the preseason, every single other guy.
Shockers. We are in dire straits.
How many are you going to take? Would you keep Branson Taylor, the guy you just drafted, or are you thinking, are you going to go in with 7 offensive linemen on Tuesday?
Okay, maybe you keep Branson Taylor, but I just don't know how you can keep David Sharp. So let's go in with 8 and keep Branson Taylor.
Yes, Andy.
Yeah, for me, I feel like any guy from 8 and beyond is at no risk of being claimed on the waiver. I think, maybe David Sharp's pushing. He'd be a vested vet by now, I think. So, neither here nor there. All the other guys who Popper listed as just miss out. This is the perfect scenario where you just take 8 offensive linemen and you're able to, well, in my scenario, keep Matlock and Fisk in the team with that extra spot. So I don't see the need for that, but some wheeling and dealing needs to be done. Yeah. Either just after roster cuts or at some point, because Branson Taylor had a 0.9 pass blocking grade against the Rams. 0.9. 0.9.
Wild. I see no intelligible justification for keeping David Sharp as a ninth offensive lineman. I do think the team drafted Branson Taylor. They trialled him in 4 different spots in the preseason.
They did, yeah.
And maybe there's something to work with. It's at least you can build the case that it's so early just to cut him straight away. Maybe I'll cut him after Tuesday, but on Tuesday you're on the team. I'm going to the whiteboard. I'm taking my Sharpie and I'm putting a fucking 3 lines through David Sharp's name. He is not allowed back in the building ever again. But that won't preclude further moves. So I would be looking very carefully. Trades. We know Lale Collins got released from the Cowboys. And maybe then that becomes your 9th offensive lineman and you cut somebody else from a different position group, or you think about cutting Branson Taylor, who knows. But for Tuesday's team, 8 offensive linemen, sounds like for all of us. Okay, on to the defense, and listeners will move a little more quickly through these groups. I think slightly less controversial to start with. Defensive line, Popper predicts the 6 obvious ones, Andy. It's Tart and Tito, Hand and Caldwell, Aboigby and Naquan. Any issues with that, or anyone else who you think might have earned a spot not named?
No, I don't. I think that's spot on. Right along.
Jack?
Yeah, I don't think. I think they're all really solid. And Aboigby actually showed a little bit as well in his last 2 games. I thought he actually looked okay. Did you say Naquan Jones doesn't make it, or he makes it?
He makes it.
He makes it, yeah. So, yep. I'm happy with that. 6. Love it.
Me too. And Naquan Jones, I thought he looked really good in the preseason. Quite excited to watch him. Edge group. What do you do here? So Popper actually predicts they go with 5. Mac Tooley Dupree, too early to cut Kennard, and because he played on Saturday, presumably he's not injured and you can't say, hey, you're stashed on some sort of a designated to return IR. The guy's healthy, so you either keep him or you cut him. And then they say, Popper predicts Caleb Murphy makes the team. So they're carrying 5 edge rushers, and unfortunately Tremont Morris-Brash gets cut, and you hope he makes it to the practice squad. Jack, you can start this time. What do you think they do? What would you do?
No, that's right. I'd take 5 too. I think. Listen, Tremont Morris-Brash was kind of the guy last year. We go, it'd be so good if he made it. Now he stayed the same. He's done all right, but the players around him, we're finding other players that are better. So Tremont Morris-Brash, I'm sorry, you lose out again. Maybe you're on the practice squad, but Caleb Murphy, you deserve it, brother. You deserve it. So he's in.
Nice.
Yeah, I think 5's a sort of required number for rotational depth, especially where Kennard's at. And yeah, similar sort of thing. I think Caleb Murphy's just outshone Morris-Brash. So he gets the nod from me as well. Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm torn. Move right along.
I'm with same. Because I think the choice is Caleb Murphy, the better pass rusher, Morris-Brash, the better run defender. And I think what the room needs is a guy who can actually affect the quarterback.
Pass rush.
Yep.
So to me, that's the determining factor. All right, linebackers. Popper says that Coulson, who's missed the last 2 practices, will be one of the 2 players designated to go to banished to the Siberia of the IR for the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. And he's gone with Henley, Perryman, Dye, and Delshon Phillips, who he just saw, is going to be that guy they signed him to be as a special teamer linebacker number 4.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. I can't remember who I went to last time. Jack, is it your turn to start off?
I'll be a little bit controversial. I'd cut Dye and stack him on the practice squad and sign Wax. Give me Marlowe.
That's okay. A ballsy move.
So yeah, I'm gonna go Marlowe. I think he was exceptional at the 49ers. He's probably the best player on the field, and I think he balled out.
So you'd cut Dye, but keep Delshon Phillips and keep Wax?
Yeah, because we know who Dye is. I still don't like Troy Dye in anything. Like, he's just a jack of all trades. I understand he might be a great special teamer. But yeah, like, he came in last year and was, as again, serviceable. But let's try something different. Let's go Phillips and Wax. Wax on, wax off.
Andy, I can almost hear the fingers furiously typing amongst our listenership. Do you watch the games, man? Gadzooks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been controversial. We had to change it up a little bit.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I was torn kind of thinking about Caleb Murphy and Marlo Wax over Caleb Murphy. But I think I'm going to hope that Wax falls to the practice squad and keep it, as Papa said. There's an experience factor in Troy Dye that is, I think, quite rather integral behind Henley and Perryman. That I would rather not sort of rest on Marlo Wax, so I'll keep it as it is, and Wax to the practice squad. It's tough because I loved watching him over the last 2 weeks. Thought he was awesome, but it's a tough one.
Same for me, and the reason why is if you're the linebacker 5, you're predominantly a special teamer. Marlo Wax, bottom 5 ranked pet special team grades. So it looked good that he flashed as a starter, but I don't think he's going to be that guy. And I'm not looking for a guy when we've already got Troy Dye, Jack, who's very capable on the field. Sure. But this is good. Disagreement is healthy, even amongst best pals. So I'm going with the 4 linebackers and Coulson to the boomerang IR. Yeah. And you just survive. I'm happy. Ideally, you do have 5 linebackers, so Ficken gets 2 of them on special teams. But I think you can make do for at least the first 4 weeks of the season. Yep. All right, 2 groups left. Safeties. Another tough one. Popper predicts 5 safeties. The 5 you'd think, including Tony Jefferson and Mickens, Gilman, Molden, Derwin. But other guys would include Kendall Williamson potentially, or you decide you don't need 5 safeties and you only want 4 of them. Andy, what are you going to do?
I think I'm going to take the 5. As I said earlier, Derwin's going to play a lot in that slot role. So you've then got 4 core safety guys to rotate through the deep part of the field.
I'm playing the game here, and I know that if I stash Tony Jefferson on the practice squad, he ain't going nowhere. Nobody wants to take him because he wants to come straight back to the promised land. He's going, no, thank you. Sure. And I'm only going to take 4 and know that no one's going to grab Tony Jefferson. I'll run that risk because he's father time. He's going to come back. He's going to do my thing. He's going to show loyalty because I want to keep a little spot for the CB room. So, listen, yes, I want to take 5, but Jefferson, stack him on the practice squad. I don't reckon anyone's going to get him somehow, but maybe I'm wrong.
Jack's walked up to Unk and just slapped him in the face. But
not at all, because he did that last year. That he was on the practice squad last year, came in and out.
Don't you think the guy's earned a spot on the 53, Jack? You're gonna cast him aside to the practice squad, make him suffer the ignominy of being cut at the ripe old age of 45.
I'm having a chat with him and going, Tony, you're the man here. We love you. But you know the game. You've been around the game long enough to know what we do here. We want you on the field. You're going to be there. You're going to play meaningful snaps. You're going to play in the Super Bowl. Okay, that's why you're here. But this is what we just have to do. We just have to do it, okay?
Yeah. So I've done the exact same thing, Jack. You speak my language. I've got, for all the reasons you carefully adumbrated, he will do it. Teams can't go after him. He lives in San Diego. He'll stay. And is what has allowed me to put Miller Hines or carry 4 running backs, carry 5 edges. Something's got to give. So 4 safeties. And if we have Kendall Williamson and Tony Jefferson on the practice squad, man, that is some really good safety depth because both of those guys were enormous all through the preseason. All right, the last group, corners. Popper has 5. Dante Jackson, Tahib Still, Cam Hart. Benjamin St. Just as the 4th. And let me tell you, he's due $2.5 million this year. Only $1 million is guaranteed. So you cut him and you eat 1 and you save 1.5. And Jasir Taylor as the 5th. Popper has Dean Leonard, who is a little hurt, being the 2nd of his 2 designated to return IR players. And of course, other guys who Popper doesn't have making it include Nico Reed and Eric Rogers and Miles Purchase. And Triquez Bridges, the 7th round draft pick. Andy, you can start off here. This is such a hard decision. 5, 6. Who are you going to pick?
Yeah, I think how the numbers have come out for me, I'd be I'd be pretty tight on. These have been my last 5 guys, I think. It's well known through the listeners of the show that Josiah Taylor drives me absolutely insane. I do know for a fact that he is like Ficken's lead gunner. So there's that other conversation of going up to Mr. Ficken and saying, I can't really use him as a cornerback. He's a liability. Benjamin St. Juste has walked in through free agency and has done nothing for me as a cornerback. But there's a guy who has that is on the who's out list, and that's Nico Reed. Now, forgive me, I don't know how the body size, the positional comparison is there, but just on paper, it'd be Nico Reed in for Benjamin St. Juste.
I can tell you, Andy, that Nico Reed had a better special teams grade through the preseason than Josiah Taylor. So and again, I don't know where that grade comes from or not, but I am cutting Josiah Taylor. I'm putting Nico Reed in the room. And I like tell that, you
Jack.
what,
I like it a lot.
And I tell you what, I kind of really want to put Eric Rodgers in there. And I think what I might do is I might cut Benjamin St. Juste and eat $1 million, but save 1.5 and sign Eric Rodgers, because I reckon that guy has earned it as well. And I'm trusting in Minter to do well with these UDFA guys, these 4th and 5th round picks. That's what I'm doing, Alistair.
Oh, love it. I love where you've both gone.
And poor Triquez, our 7th round pick, is the Cornelius Johnson of this year, but just simply he's in the wrong, he's the wrong guy in the right place.
No one will take him. Yeah, no one will take him.
Nah, they won't. He played the most snaps on the team throughout the whole preseason with 202. Yeah. Hey, credit to him. I thought he actually got a bit better each game. At least he started making some tackles. He also missed a few, but in coverage, he was a complete liability. So he's cut. Guys, I'm carrying 5. I'm cutting St. Juste. I just think, I know, I infer that Minter wants to trial some bigger cornerback types. We drafted Bridges. We signed St. Juste. They're both 6'2 plus. Give you some optionality at the big nickel. They just haven't played well enough. So I don't care. That idea is nice on paper, but not at the expense of some of the other guys. So Derwin, you're going to be playing a lot at slot cornerback. And when you're not on 3rd down, it's going to be Tahib Still. And on the outside, it'll be Jackson and Hart. I'm going to keep Josiah for the special teams reason, and he's very experienced. I think he's a liability in pass coverage. I think he can be okay from time to time. I don't mind him in predominantly a special teams role, and Nico Reed is my 5th. Jack, I thought about Rodgers. He hasn't been practicing since he hurt his foot in that last game. Maybe he just, if Nico Reed had not played so well, I'd be on it, but I just needed to see one more performance from Rodgers. So I'm going with 5. Jackson, Stillhart, Josiah, Nico Reed. TDU crew, that is our breakdown of Daniel Popper's 53. Within the next 48 hours, we'll know what the team has done. Let us know what you think. These are not easy decisions to make. It requires a lot of flexibility of thought. You've got to deal with the personal relationships, which none of us, frankly, really know. It's a challenge, but we've got to trust that Chef Hortiz knows what he's doing, Andy.
Yeah, that's it. Very exciting times. 53 gets revealed, and then the boys and the crew head over to Brazil for week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the 3 of us will be talking real football properly for the first time in 2025. Until then, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll fix this voice situation. We'll see you next time on the Thunder Down on the Chargers podcast.
Please sign an offensive.
Backpedals looking, firing. He's got Floyd turning. Got it! 6 10, 5, high step, touchdown! San Diego!
Woo! Good night! Good night to all!